Hey y'all, Mahala here. I went to the best cannabis testing lab around town and I said, how are you testing our cannabis and what are you testing it for? Tell me right now. I didn't really say it like that, but stay tuned. Watch this video for the ins and outs of cannabis testing in the Bay Area.
Sarah Otis, and I am the Director of Quality and Special Projects for Inresco Laboratory. I've been in the cannabis industry, let's see, I think about 13 years. I started working in the lab space because I'm a chemist by trade. Now I'm doing quality assurance and quality control.
Okay, at Inresco.
Yes, at Inresco.
Yes.
Inresco's been in business for 80 years, since 1943. We've been doing food testing for all of that time, and then we started doing cannabis and hemp testing around 10 years ago, I think. So the state of California requires that we test for potency, cannabinoid potency, water activity, moisture content in some types of samples like flour, heavy metals, residual solvents in some types of products like extracts. Clean testing is an optional test, but some people add it. And then pesticides, which is, we're looking at 66 different pesticides.
This is a lot, and honestly, as a consumer, why even go the testing route? Like, why even walk into a dispensary and tell them what you're looking for? And why not just go to the guy on the corner that you know so well?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great question. And when I started in the cannabis industry, it was all medical. So people were using cannabis as medicine. And even though it's gone recreational, I still think that a lot of people are using this as medicine, or they're using it to relax. And it's really important for them to have a good experience. Like, nobody wants to have a bad experience on cannabis or get too high.
Like I did on rapper weed.
Yeah. And I think that one of the other things, when we talk about lab fraud, when we're talking about like pesticides or microbial contamination or heavy metals contamination, that might not be something that, if you have a good immune system, is going to affect you right away, but it could be something that accumulates in your body that could affect you over time or contribute to things like cancer or like neurotoxicity or something like that. So I think that when we're talking about buying from the legal market versus the illegal market, like that would be one of my biggest reasons, is that when we test cannabis in the legal market, we're testing for those things. We're ensuring that those products are safe for human consumption. Back when there was the vaping crisis, the EVALI, which was the lung condition that was coming from vape cartridges, we did a study and they found out that it was vitamin E acetate that was causing that, and all of those cartridges came from the illegal market.
Right.
We didn't find a single cartridge on the legal market that had that compound, and in fact, that compound was, you weren't allowed to use that if you were producing in the legal market. And so I think there's things like that, where if people are producing it outside of the legal market, they might be using ingredients that are dangerous, that people don't even know about, and that we might not know are dangerous until people start getting sick from them.
And something else that's happening, right, is that once the test fails, because sometimes tests do fail, right? People are going back and selling the product that they once were trying to sell legally to the black market. Absolutely.
That's definitely something that we've seen, those products getting diverted to the illegal market, and it's unfortunate because, you know, those products have been deemed unsafe for human consumption. Yes, sometimes I think that we talked about the fact that the numbers, the limits that were set on pesticides and heavy metals, those were set using some research from the food industry, but also recognizing the fact that they weren't sure if there would be a different effect from cannabis that's heated and inhaled. So they wanted to make sure that they were setting the limits low enough where these pesticides were undetectable at certain levels, and that those pesticides could be dangerous if they were heated and inhaled, so they wanted to set them lower than what food that's ingested were. So I think it is true that there are certain agricultural products that are allowed to have pesticides or heavy metals in higher amounts than what's allowed in cannabis. So we are actually required to retain those samples for 45 days. The state of California, the cannabis regulations require that we retain those, so we store them in very methodical ways, so that if we were ever asked to pull that sample from inventory, we would know exactly what shelf it was on. So we retain those samples in refrigerators, just in case we were ever asked to retest them by the state. And then once that 45 business days is up, we actually have to dispose of them in also a very controlled way. We document the disposal of those, and we contract a company to come and pick up those disposed samples and dispose of them, fairly similar to how hazardous waste is disposed of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw this in there that I saw the samples. They're not consumable, and they're not necessarily something to resell. So
no, definitely not. We have to homogenize the sample, and when we dispose of it, we actually have to render it unusable. So
okay, so no one really takes the samples and self sample?
No, unfortunately not.
Unfortunately, right?
Thanks. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, no, I learned so much that I didn't even consider about how our products are tested and what they're tested for. And if you want to know more, tune in to part 2 of this video, because that's where we get into the real juicy details of lab fraud. Yeah, be sure to like, share, subscribe as usual. It's your girl Mahala, and I'll see you on the flip.